4 identifying signs of a high-functioning alcoholic. Did you know that 1 in 8 American adults suffers from a dependency on alcohol? Please stay tuned to find out how you can identify if someone you know is suffering from this problem. Hey Hapthies! Today we will be talking about one of the worst problems that have plagued humanity for centuries. We are of course talking about alcoholism. When you think of an alcoholic, you may think of someone who's always under the influence, and it seems like his professional and personal life is suffering because of it. But this is not always the case. In some instances, a person may seem fine from the outside, but still may be abusing alcohol and suffering because of it from the inside. Such people are referred to as high-functioning alcoholics. Most high-functioning alcoholics can hold down well-paying jobs and have good relationships and seem to have a steady life. But beyond closed doors, they are addicted to drinking, and their health may be suffering because of it. Let's discuss some of the biggest identifying signs that a person is a high-functioning alcoholic. Please stay tuned for a bonus fact at the end, and remember to subscribe if you find the video informative. Alcohol abuse and binge drinking as a coping mechanism. Alcohol addiction starts mildly. Like with most other addictions, a person may start experimenting with different types of alcohol and try to constantly push their limits. Such behavior often starts when people use drinking as a way to get away from their problems and negative thought. In the initial stages, a person may justify drinking as a way to get wasted and escape life for a few hours. While such people may not even drink every day, they may eventually build a tolerance that forces them to keep pushing their boundaries. This ends up increasing their alcohol intake, and this is the point when things may start to spiral out of control. People at this point may try to convince themselves that a drink does not affect them, as they are still holding down a job and are socially active. But this is not true, as one drink can turn into a night of binging booze. Modern life can be hard at times. Many things can be a cause of stress for people. This can include things like problems at work, relationship problems, and family problems, among others. While having a drink every once in a while on a weekend is not a problem, using drinking as the only means of stress relief can turn into alcohol abuse fast. When a person makes a habit of drinking to get away from their problems, be it big or small, their mind may start to identify a pattern where the only means of relief they have is when they drink. This can be dangerous because this behavior can quickly lead to a dependency on the substance and make them crave a drink when they are stressed. Additionally, using alcohol as a means of stress relief is a terrible idea because abusing it can lead to further problems like depression and anxiety. Drinking in the daytime. Increased drinking as a coping mechanism can lead to a psychological dependency on the substance. When this happens, the person may start excessively consuming alcohol during the daytime as a means of dealing with even the most minor problems that they may come across. At this stage, people may start to display signs of mental obsession with their next drink as they turn to the bottle to unwind. If this behavior continues, the problem becomes even harder to deal with, as regular consumption of alcohol starts to cause a physical dependency, and people may suffer from symptoms of withdrawal if they do not have a drink. This can lead people to consume alcohol at an even faster rate during the daytime and may even start to interfere with everyday life. People at this stage may start taking up habits like hiding alcohol at work, sneaking in sips during their lunch breaks, and even having a drink when they wake up because they need it to have a sense of normalcy. Most symptoms of alcohol withdrawal can start to appear in 6 to 24 hours since the last drink, and this is one of the biggest reasons why people turn to the drink during daytimes. There are also a few points to consider when it comes to functioning alcoholics. Not all day drinking means that a person may be addicted. There are specific behaviors that can help with identifying a problem. These include people trying to mask their dependency on the substance by making jokes, trying to minimize the extent of their addiction and the negative effects it is having on their health, and trying to hide the habit altogether. Frequently drinking alone and showing symptoms of alcoholism. Being dependent on alcohol to function throughout the day is a big problem. This is when people close to the addict may start showing concerns for the person's well-being, as signs of their addiction are starting to show physically. One big indicator of people at this stage is their insistence on trying to set boundaries for themselves to convince them of progress. The problem is that these boundaries are seldom respected and the addiction continues to grow. Some of the most common things they may say are that they will try to only consume a certain number of drinks before they stop for the day, or that they will only be consuming things like beer and avoiding hard liquor from now on. People at this stage are often convinced that their addictions have not had a major impact on their lives and that they are still coping fine with their habits, when in reality, they have had to make a massive change to their lifestyle to accommodate their drinking problems. This includes them changing jobs frequently and even having a group of friends that enable their drinking habit. When they start to display physical symptoms of addiction, the person may prefer to drink alone as a way to avoid feelings of shame because of their habit. While alcoholics may still enjoy being part of social engagements and celebrations where drinking is socially acceptable, a big problem is when they continue drinking afterward or prefer to just stay home and drink alone to avoid distractions and judgment. Denial of addiction resulting from clear physical and psychological changes. One of the biggest identifying signs of a high-functioning alcoholic is their resistance to the idea that they may be addicted. They are extremely unlikely to admit that they have a dependency on alcohol, and in some instances, may not even believe that they have a problem at all. Being in denial is one of the most common characteristics of someone going through addiction, and they continue to tell themselves everything is fine as long as they have something that provides normalcy to hold on to. Another common theme in high-functioning alcoholics is their failure to grasp how their habit is having a major negative impact on their life and well-being. This is because their chain of thought helps the addict have some sense of control. They believe that their ability to have some sort of control over their lives despite excessive drinking means that they can convince themselves and those around them that they don't have that big of a problem. At this point, the addict and those around him may also start to notice the physical and psychological toll excessive drinking can take on a person. Common symptoms include things like the development of a beer belly and flushed skin. Internally, the body may be breaking down slowly because of the abuse. Liver damage becomes a real possibility at this stage, and other symptoms like high blood pressure and heartburn may also be rampant. Despite these problems, a high-functioning alcoholic will still minimize the extent of the damage. This is because despite the physical discomfort and psychological conditions like depression and anxiety, as long as the addict can be a somewhat functioning part of society, they will keep convincing themselves that they don't have a problem. Being aware of the habits of a high-functioning alcoholic is important because talking to them and getting timely help for them may be the eventual difference between life and death. Once you have identified that a loved one is a high-functioning alcoholic, you may be compelled to help them in some way by talking to them or holding an intervention. For today's bonus fact, we will discuss some of the ways you can go about helping a high-functioning alcoholic. One of the ways you can help someone suffering from alcoholism is by having an honest and open conversation with them on the matter. It is important to set an ambiance in which they feel comfortable and be private enough where they can feel like they can openly discuss their problems. It is important to not show any judgment, even if the person shows denial of their problems. This will end up making them feel attacked and make them close up emotionally. It is important to keep the conversation neutral and include things about how you feel about their addiction too. Telling them that you're worried about them can make them more open to change. It is also important to gauge where the conversation is going. If they feel angry and don't feel like talking, it is best to stay calm. Telling them about the impact that the drinking habits are having on their loved ones is a good way to make them open to assume some responsibility for their addiction. They may not have realized the negative effects their habit is having on the people around them, and may make them open up to treatment. Alcoholism is a massive health risk, the consequences of which are not as highlighted as they should be. The repercussions of drug abuse are heavily publicized, but no one talks about the effects of alcohol, which despite being legal, can cause just as much, if not more damage than other addictive substances. This is why it is important to identify if a loved one is going through these problems and get them help as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel for more videos about a happier life. Did you or someone you know suffer from an alcohol dependency? Please share how you overcame the problem in the comments.